Hi, I'm Kevin.
I'm Yoshika.
So today we're going to be discussing some family of origin issues in respect to my recent marriage to my partner.
And the modality I'm going to use is CBT. All right. So, welcome, Kevin. It's glad to see you back. I know last week we kind of sat down and went over the basic confidentiality and things that you wanted to talk about. Do you mind kind of, you know, diving back into like what's your reasons for coming to see me today?
Sure, yeah. I came in last week because my partner and I have been together for about 4 years now. We got engaged about a year ago, and we just recently got married. Um, and so that happened, and then my parents are pretty religious. They don't agree with my relationship with Josh, and so I wasn't going to tell them about it, but they ended up finding out through another source, and my mom asked me about it. And so we had this conversation, and she expressed her disappointment. And I was just I left the conversation feeling angry because it seemed like she just brought it up just to express disappointment, and I was just wondering like why even bring it up. And so it's almost as if the scab from my relationship with them over the past 7 or 8 years, it's almost like the scab from that was just kind of lifted. And I had a little bit of I called her back a couple of days later and had kind of an angry outburst with her. I wasn't yelling at her or anything, but I reacted in a way that I haven't in the past, and kind of really told her how I was feeling about everything. And I don't know, I had mixed emotions afterwards.
Okay. So initially, the feelings that it brought up, your mother calling you and asking you about, you and your husband's marriage, made you angry. But then you said once you verbalized how you felt out of that anger, you kind of had some mixed emotions. So tell me about those mixed emotions that you had.
I was still angry, and I guess I had time to sit with it and kind of think about everything, and I guess a little sad, a little rejected, which has been kind of a constant theme. I think for my entire life with them, but more consciously over the past 7 or 8 years. And so I guess some of those emotions started to come back up, and I also felt a little bit guilty about some of the things I'd said to her, even though they were true. And I think that maybe I needed to say them, but I knew how they impacted her, and I don't want to hurt her or my dad. I'm very kind of aware of their feelings and how they're dealing with everything, and I know that when we left that conversation that she was probably feeling a lot of guilt and shame, and that's not something that I want them to have to sit with, even though maybe they need, I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds really conflicting.
Yeah,
it sounds like you're very aware of your feelings and your behavior and how it impacts them, and then how they then respond to it emotionally as well. So you spoke about the guilt. Is there a way, reflecting back now on it, that you wish you could have communicated the feeling that you had, the anger, the sadness, the rejection, disappointment that you had? Is there a way that you feel you could have communicated those things, but in a way that would make you feel less guilty afterwards?
I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I wasn't yelling at her. I said some pretty harsh things, but they were harsh because they were honest. And I was being maybe more authentic with her than I have ever been. Even though we've had conversations in the past, I've always initiated those. And they've been pretty sparse because my family tends to just kind of sweep things under the rug. They don't like to have emotional dialogue. And so I've always been the one to initiate those conversations. And they've been very much so kind of resistant to having them. And so, I mean, maybe I could have done it better. But I just feel like some of the things I had to say were just going to be harsh anyways.
So, one of the things that you said is that you were concerned that it made her feel guilty or shameful. Are there times where you have felt or carried guilt and shame when it comes to your relationship with your parents?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that just growing up in my household, that was probably a constant theme for me that maybe I wasn't fully cognizant of, but later kind of understood more. But they're very religious, and there were a lot of messages that were hateful towards the LGBTQ population. And I don't think that their intentions were to be hateful, but it was just kind of implicit in the messages that they were sending. So I would definitely say that I've probably shame just for this piece of my identity that doesn't align with my family of origin values.
So it definitely, shame and guilt are something that, you know, it's okay to feel, and sometimes we need to feel them to be able to learn. And it definitely sounds like you were coming from a place, like you said, of authenticity when you were talking to your mom, and so it's okay that she felt shame and guilt because the intent was not to make her feel those things, but to just communicate how you were feeling.
So I guess it's kind of like I know that a little bit, like a piece of me understands that, and but I still struggle with kind of navigating. I feel like oftentimes that I am being extra sensitive to their feelings when maybe I shouldn't be as sensitive, but then I start to feel guilty. I'm like, but I should. Then I'm like, it's just this conflict because I feel like maybe I shouldn't be as sensitive, but then I kind of feel like I should be. I don't know.
Have you ever, like looking back on your relationship with them, have you expressed or communicated something to them that they may have not approved of or felt upset about in some way? In that moment when you said whatever or did whatever, but reflecting back on it now, it kind of changed the relationship for the better?
I would say that coming out to them, that kind of surmises that experience and our experience over the last 7 or 8 years. They were very disappointed and upset, but kind of along this journey, it's changed both of us. So yeah, I mean, I guess in the beginning they were upset, and maybe they still are a little bit, but there's also some more positives that have come from it. that I didn't think were gonna come from it in the beginning.
So could you speak to those positive things that you've seen come from your ability to be honest and authentic?
Wow. Yeah, I think that they are more open and accepting, even though it was hard for them to hear some of those conversations. I think that them having to confront those situations and their feelings or beliefs, kind of reconciling those, however they chose to do that, or whether they've completely done that yet or not, even if they haven't, they still have kind of become more accepting and open and less judgmental. So yeah, I guess I never joined. I knew that they had changed for some of the better over these last 7 or 8 years from that experience, but I've never looked at it like it came from that negative experience or what felt like a negative experience at the time. And maybe that can happen from this experience.
Absolutely. Definitely one of the things that happen on this journey of life is our interactions with people around us. It teaches them things. And so if we ourselves try to protect them from something that could be perceived as negative, like shame or guilt, or feeling these emotions that aren't as comfortable to handle or carry, we could rob them of an opportunity to actually grow and become more sensitive and more open and compassionate. So you kind of gave them a gift by, or maybe gave your mom a gift by like kind of being like, yeah, like I'm pissed off.
That's a good point, and I feel like I could definitely shift the way I've been thinking about that, and maybe even in future situations, not being as fearful to bring up conversations that might incite some negative emotions for them, just because I don't want them to have to sit with that. Because I do think I've been trying to protect them in a certain way.
And protection is good, but sometimes it can be hindering. And it definitely sounds like when you address them, you're coming from a place of love and concern, and not a place of maliciousness.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always very almost hypersensitive to even this last conversation when I call it an outburst. I'm still very hypersensitive to what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. I was just a little more honest.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of burst through some family norms of no, we're not sweeping this under the rug.
Yeah. I'm definitely that family member who kind of pushes against the norms.
That's great. That's great. And I mean, what freedom is that for them to not have all this stuff piled up under their carpet? When it comes up under, it's like, oh, it don't look pretty, but at least we can organize it in the appropriate places. So.
That's true.
So,
So I'm doing them a favor.
Yeah, exactly. As long as the intent is there, that it's from a place of love and not a place of hurt or maliciousness.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you.
I appreciate you for being so open and honest and willing to talk about this.
I appreciate you reframing that for me.
No problem. You did it yourself.
Yeah, I had some help. I had some guidance.
Oh. Oh, we got 14 minutes. Dang it. All right.
I mean, I guess, I started thinking about towards the end of that, how I could approach future conversations, because that is something I have a lot of anxiety about. For instance, so one of the kind of themes for me when I spoke with my mom that recently was that I'm kind of like an outcast, like I'm on the outside of the family and not included. And that kind of shows up in different ways. And so this past weekend, my niece had a gymnastics competition in Kennesaw. And I had asked my family, my parents, I had told them if she was having anything close to where I lived to let me know so that I could possibly come. And so we had agreed on that. And then I called my mom on Saturday, and she didn't answer, and then she called me back, and it was loud, and they were at this meet, and I had not heard anything about it. And one of the first things she said was that my sister didn't tell me because she knew I had class. But it just seemed like there could have still been it just felt like it felt like an excuse. Because it seems like they could have told me about it at least and let me make that decision.
Right.
But there was never, like, I knew nothing about it. And so it's things like that that kind of show up routinely that I would like to be able to address, but I have so much anxiety about approaching those conversations, and that might be one of the reasons why I had that, what I call an outburst, because I tend to just let things go and maybe hold on to them, and then at the right time it just burst out.
Right.
So I guess it might be beneficial to learn how to approach those conversations, or maybe how to deal with the anxiety around that.
Do you have any skills or things that you do to just manage anxiety in general?
I mean, just like self-care
Okay.
stuff.
Okay, so it definitely sounds like maybe being in a good space, like mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, is helpful for you. Have you ever considered maybe doing a role play?
I haven't.
Sometimes role plays can be very, very helpful in kind of seeing how we would feel in the moment, or at least an idea of how we would feel and how we would react. And especially if we do it enough, it kind of becomes like an automatic reaction or response versus something that you like feel in your core, and then it goes to your head and it's like, crap, how am I going to respond? So a role play would be definitely.
Oh, I'm getting anxious just thinking about it.
Well, could you take 3 deep breaths for me, and I'll take them with you. So tell me, what are you thinking or feeling in this moment?
I guess I'm thinking about that incident. Feeling kind of left out. And how I would approach that conversation, because it seems like when I do bring things up, there's a lot of times there's excuses, whether that be because of religious reasons or something mundane like the excuse my sister gave. And so it kind of leaves me with little ground to, I don't know, feels like I'm shut down.
Okay, so do you think it would be fair that even if they give an excuse, that you still communicate how you feel in the moment and what you need for them to do in the future to kind of, it sounds like you've said that, but sometimes you gotta keep saying it, but you know, something that they could do to kind of like help you not feel out as an outsider. So let's pretend, recap and act like Saturday happened all over again. And I'm,
Okay.
you know, I'm your mom, and you call me, and you hear all this noise, and I immediately say, "Oh, well, your sister didn't tell you because you had class." What would you say?
Oh God.
What would you really want to say?
What I would really want to say is, well, I would want to ask, well, first I would want to know why that was the first thing she said. Like, why is that the first thing that you say to me?
Well, I know you've said in the past that you wanted us to let you know when she had stuff in your area, and so I just wanted to make sure you knew it wasn't personal.
Well, it feels personal because I mean, I could have made the decision to come.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I'm sorry.
See, I'm getting all these like, I'm wanting to like, so you didn't think about me.
Okay.
So you didn't think about me. So that makes me feel left out.
Oh, I didn't think about it that way. I didn't mean to make you feel left out. I don't want you to feel left out.
Well, in the future, would it be possible even if you feel like maybe I can't attend something or, you know, could you still let me know?
I'll do my best. All right. So how you feel?
I felt myself, I don't know, it's just mixed emotions because I think that even if that was something that my mom said, I think that, I guess the way I've seen it over the course of time is that their actions don't show it. And I guess that's what I want.
So you want the actions to match the words.
Yeah. I don't want to just hear it. I want you to show that you care and love me and want to have me as part of the family.
That is a great insight and awareness to have, is that yes, you say these beautiful words, the things that I want to hear, but I need the action to match that. Because it sounds like over the years the right things have been said, but there hasn't been that follow through of the behaviors to confirm the words. So maybe moving forward, that's something that you can address. You say, well, you know, I appreciate you saying that, but I need to see that. It can't be real for me if I don't see it, if I don't feel it.
Yes.
So tell me, where did you feel it in your body? Because I saw you get tense.
I would say all over my chest, just the anxiety, my stomach, and a little bit everywhere, to be honest. I would say those are the main areas, but a little bit everywhere, just feeling kind of jittery, just very unsettled energy, which is kind of like a constant with my relationship with them, because it feels very inauthentic at times, and I can't feel like I can express my true self.
So it goes back to that instinctual, like, keep it all inside.
Yeah. I feel like I'm like holding it in and trapping it, and almost like splitting my identity, where I'm kind of separating this side of myself and leaving a very superficial aspect to our relationship.
Do you think when you feel that that trapment, like you can maybe like do a stretch or